All right, guys, let's go over some of the more detailed aspects of the micro 25 pistol. I don't even know what it's supposed to be called. It's just a 25 pistol, I guess. But everything's super light, and for example, like the top, this whole thing is only 12 millimeters wide. I did add this retention bracket for the bolt, and it serves limited purpose. The only purpose is when the bolt's in the back, it just doesn't fall out, but that's it. In the forward position, the bracket doesn't do anything, and it's got a slot to keep, the bolt from moving rearward during the shot. So the bracket is literally, it's just there to keep the bolt from falling out when I'm loading it. I wish I could have come up with something better looking, but the whole project, I've been winging it the whole time. This piece of metal, this 12 millimeter piece of plate, was a leftover scrap from a CNC project. So I just started cutting out a shape on the bandsaw, and then I found this tank that I'd used for something years ago, and I cut an angle right there with the bandsaw, and I said, well, if I mount that there, that could be the grip, and the rest of it, I've just been completely winging it as I go. But yeah, so one challenge here with this design is that because you've got a small width center piece, the main block is only 12 millimeters, you physically can't fit a large diameter hammer. And hammer weight definitely counts for something. I mean, it counts for a lot if you're trying to push a lot of air, but the bigger factor in hammer weight is diameter. It's not length. I mean, you could have, if you had a 3/4 inch hammer that was 4 inches long, you'd still be better off with a 1 inch hammer that's 3 inches long. And even though those two, those equations sound symmetrical, they're not, because remember, a circle, as you increase the radius, it's quadratic. In other words, it's fourfold every time you double the diameter. So you're always better off with a bigger diameter hammer. That wasn't an option here, so it's 3/8 by about 1/2 inch. So I need a lot of preload. In order to get a lot of preload, I needed a lot of space, and the space wasn't available here. I mean, the valve is from here to here, and the stem sticks out into here. So this forward block, it was a good improvisation, kind of, well, it was my only option, I think. I mean, I was going to 3D print something that kind of blended it in with the barrel and everything, but I said to myself, you know what, there'll be enough 3D printed parts on this thing when it's done. I'm not going to start now, especially for, a strictly mechanical part that needed to be kind of strong. So I figured I'd just take a block of aluminum and drill it, and then I just drilled a pocket on this inner side. The bolt handle, while it's cool, you could see right there, I don't know if that's demonstrating it, but it doesn't sit on the bolt head that well, so I might need to improve on that, because there's been times where I go to cock it and it literally pops off, even though it's press fit, and I thought it was pretty good. I guess it's not. And I'm not sure about that diameter. It's comfortable to grab and everything, but it's a little bit excessive for the dimensions of the gun. As far as the trigger, what's interesting, people might assume it's, a complex trigger because it's such a short throw, and, it's kind of sounds crisp, which I was surprised. It's actually just an L. So if you picture on the bottom of the hammer, there's a flat milled right to the end, and then there's a little lip sticking down at the end of the hammer. This comes up, goes over, and has a very sharpened edge right there. When this goes forward, let's see if I can do it. When that goes forward, this hammer gets tilted up by a spring. I mean, this trigger gets tilted up, the L gets tilted up by a spring. You can see the spring right there. That spring pushes the L up, and it grabs that flat in the bottom of the hammer. And it just worked out surprisingly well, with very limited travel on the trigger itself. It's it's only moving about a millimeter back and forth, either to reset or to fire. it's kind of like the Mark 1. If you ever had an old Crossman Mark 1 or Mark 2, it's a similar geometry in the sense that the hammer is firing backwards. What else? One complication has been, for the last couple of days, I've made a collet system to hold this little bolt, and I can't really fully show it to you. Like, I've got it machined down. So I've got a bolt probe there. But trying to put an O-ring groove in this hardened steel while holding it in the homebrew collet system has just been, a pain in the butt. So I got to figure something out. Worst case scenario, I could just make another bolt. But I prefer not to, because this press fit connection on the Crossman bolts, that connection right there, it's actually, it's pretty robust. It's made for years and years of abuse. So, I don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. Although I've made a bunch of bolts in the past, that connection is pretty good. So we'll see what happens with that. Otherwise, I'm still waiting on the hardware for this bottom cap. And if you haven't watched it, the reason I trimmed the bottom of the tank is it was, it was about down to here, and it just looks stupid and disproportionate. Like, if you look at my hand, this is my left hand, but the gun's pretty much in proportion with my hand, whereas before that tube was sticking out like another 2 inches, and it just looked ridiculous. It was as long as the barrel. What else? I put a couple rounds through it, but it needs the retention on here so I can go to higher pressure. It needs a bolt O-ring, which will improve the velocity substantially, as we saw with the 72 caliber. I think I went up 60 foot-pounds when I put an O-ring on that probe. It's proportionate, obviously. 60 foot-pounds out of 200. Maybe this would go up 3 or 4 foot-pounds. And what else? Yeah, so I have that other gun coming, and I'm going to be making parts for it. It's the Hatson V-Locks. I figured some of you would want to know, because it hasn't gotten much publicity for some reason. I mean, it's a semi-automatic pistol, up to about 16 foot-pounds, and it's like the poor man's version of an Evan X Viper or Human GK1 or whatever. I mean, yeah, those are serious, especially the Human, those are serious power. But, for plinking around the yard, the little Hatson V-Locks, although there's been some reported issues, it's pretty cool. You got a decent mag capacity. You can get it in 25 caliber or 22. It's got swappable tanks. So anyway, I thought for the price it was impressive. But anyway, more to come on the pistol within the next day or two. Thanks for watching.